It's a new day. Yes, it is.
Hopefully your weekend went well. Hopefully you went out, enjoyed yourself, had a good time, watched some sports, had some joy in your life. I found this interesting. There's some beef between Michelle Beadle and Stephen A. Smith. This is a long-running, beef. Beadle said she's not a religious woman, but she is praying for Stephen A. Smith's downfall. And it got me to thinking. It really got me to thinking. Should you actually pray for people's downfall? Should you pray for Stephen A. Smith's downfall? Earlier this morning, I think I was going to lie. I really do. I think I was going to come on here and say, listen, man, turn the other cheek. Be the better person. Don't wish on people's downfall. Don't stoop to their level. But then I started to think about it. I really started to think about it. And I think we all have a couple of individuals that we know that if they got ran over by a bus today, we wouldn't be that upset about it. It's just facts. I'm not saying that's Stephen A. Smith. I'm saying I think everybody has at least one person, and they truly deserve it, that if something bad happened to them, you just be like, eh. Maybe not celebrate it, but it wouldn't bother you. You just go about your day drinking your cup of coffee. I think when you're talking about celebrities, and that's what Stephen A. Smith is, it's a little bit different. Someone like Michelle Beadle worked at ESPN. They have deeper understandings of what is going on behind the scenes. Now, she's a fan. Be like, I'm praying on Stephen A. Smith's downfall. I'm praying on Mina Kimes' downfall. I'm praying on Charles Barkley's downfall. I'm praying on Draymond Green's downfall. I don't know. What do you think? It's really a question to you. My guy Thomas says nobody wants karma that comes back to him. But it's interesting because on the flip side of that, there are people that are wishing on your downfall every day and plotting to make it happen. I'm speaking from true life experience. Some people just grind your gears to the point that you want something bad to happen to them. The thing about Stephen A. Smith, though, is he's smart. He has positioned himself in a way that he's almost untouchable. Now, nobody is actually untouchable, but he's almost untouchable. The financial investment that they have made into him, and also someone like Pat McAfee, almost makes them untouchable. I mean, Pat McAfee, honestly, goes harder at ESPN than Stephen A. Smith does. He basically called him trash for having the talent promote what was going on with YouTube TV. He's called the executive old. He's gotten people fired. Preying on the downfall. It's a slippery slope. Something like that. I mean, is Stephen A. just a guy that's just on TV a lot, that talks a lot? Is that inherently something evil, so to speak, that you want a downfall? One thing I will say, and this is for the brothers and the sisters out there, I do think, proportionately speaking, that black people wish downfall on black people more than other races. I honestly believe that. And that's a little troubling to me, because we're already fighting against the majority. You know, we're already backed into a corner. As my uncle told me when I was a young kid, when you walk out the door, if you're black, you're down 14-7. You're down 14-0. You're playing at a deficit as soon as you walk out the door. But I find it a little disheartening that at times black people get so much joy in another black person's downfall. One of the reasons that Trump is the president is because white people stick together, no matter what. A white person could hate another white person, but they'll never hate that white person more than they do a black person. They stick together. So no matter what he does or whatever he does, they stick together. Even if they know it's wrong, they stick together. I remember when Obama was the president, and I forgot who they did the interview with. It was some white Republican. And the guy did the interview said it was some bill or something. It was a bill like that nobody in the world should disagree with. It's like, you know, should kids have milk? It was something really simple. And they wouldn't pass the bill. And the reporter was like, this is for kids, you know, this is for children. Like, what? How could this should be the easiest bipartisan bill of all time? And that white Republican looked that man in the eye and said, we'll never pass anything that if we have a choice that Barack Obama brings to the table, regardless if it helped kids. Barack Obama could have came with a bill that says, listen, I found the cure to cancer. And the Republicans be like, nah, sorry. We don't see it. We think cancer should stay. They stick together. We do not stick together. Now, I know there's, once again, a slippery slope, because once that black man and that black woman starts moving a little to the left, right, they start talking about things that are a little anti-black. They start seeing a little bit on the MAGA side. Some of your empathy probably goes away from them. I understand that. It's a tricky situation. It's a very tricky situation because, you know, black man that has the ability to help other black people, you don't necessarily want them to have a downfall, because who takes that spot? You understand what I'm saying? If Stephen A. Smith has a downfall, who takes that spot? You want Dan Orlovsky in control of everything on First Take? You understand what I'm saying? You don't think about things. I think as a race, as a culture, we're bad at that. I remember I told somebody that once. I said, is your personal angst, your personal hatred, your personal beef worth stopping someone who is doing good for the bigger picture? And they looked me dead in my eye and they said, yes. Yes. I'm willing to take down this person because of my personal feelings for them. Regardless, if me taking them down affects 500 other people, it does not matter to me, because this is how I feel. Now, is that selfish? Probably. Should people think about that before they start talking and stuff? Probably. Do they? No. It's one of the reasons why we can never raise up as a society. We hate each other. We hate each other's success. We pray for a downfall more than we celebrate success. I have a lot of people that have helped me along the way in my journey. The amount of white people that have done that compared to black people should not be even, should not be close. I should not be like, man, 13 white people helped me, 8 black people helped me. That, it shouldn't be like that. But that's the way it is sometimes. So I don't really have an answer to this per se. I do feel like if someone has done you wrong and you feel like, you know, you want to pray on their downfall, I get it. I trust me, I totally get it. I understand it. When it's, you know, white on black, black on white, I get it. You won't be too concerned about what happened to Trump. I get that. But when it's us, I would ask you to at least think about it. Think about how the downfall will not affect that person, but how it will affect others. Because a lot of times the people don't think about the others. And a lot of times, the person that is on the downfall is going to be okay. Even if you pray for Stephen A. downfall and he failed, he still got $100 million. He'll be okay. He still got MAGA to run to. He'll be fine. But what about the producer? What about the PA? What about, you know, all the people behind the scenes? If he goes down, they go down too. If he has to close up shop, those jobs are gone. You have to think sometimes. Is my personal hatred more important than taking down our people? I just ask you to think. I can't say how you feel. I understand. If you feel a certain way, you feel a certain way. People have done you wrong. Like I said, I understand. I understand. People have done you wrong. You don't want good things to happen to them. It's a conundrum. It's not something that has a simple yes or no answer. And I always try to explain it to people. Everybody thinks everything has to have a white and black. No, there's a lot of shades of gray out there. How you doing, James? Yeah, they don't think about it. They don't think about it. Just had to get that off my chest. Oh, Daboll got fired. Hold, please. The dog needed to be let out. Daboll got fired today. And once again, I don't pray on anybody downfall. I don't know Daboll. Sure, he's a nice person, right? But with that being said, when you're playing around with somebody's head, that's a fireable offense. You could not be run. I was watching that game. He was running Jaxson Dart like a prime Tim Tebow. I had never seen that many QB sweeps since Tebow was at Florida. And listen, I like Jaxson Dart. He got some wheels, but he's not Josh Allen. He's not Lamar Jackson, right? He's more like C.J. Stroud. You can't just be running sweeps with a guy just because he got a little bit of legs. And let me tell you something, that kid had concussions before this game. I've watched pretty much every one of their games, and almost in every game he gets banged up and he kind of is walking funny and stuff. And Daboll is screaming at the doctors to get him out the tent. That's wrong. You can't do that, man. Playing football as it is takes about 10 years off your life, not to mention the CTE. We see people killing themselves left and right, and you leaving a kid in. That's a fireable offense. He should be ashamed. This is why, and I've said this many, 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 many times, this is why you cannot draft a young quarterback if your coach is a lame duck coach. You will waste a year of their development. Caleb Williams, year wasted. Cam Ward, year wasted. Jaxson Dart, you're wasted. What you have to, if you, after the season is over, and you have decided that you are probably going to draft an NFL college quarterback in the first round or the second round, you have to make the decision right then and there. This guy, the coach that's already there, is going to be the guy for at least 3 to 4 years. Or I got to fire everybody. You have to start fresh. Drake May wasted a year. It has to be the CJ Stroud where the coach, the GM, everybody's fresh. Because when everybody's fresh, then everybody's working together toward a goal, and they know they have some time. They don't feel like they have to give a kid brain damage to keep their job. Brian Daboll was playing like a man who didn't want to get fired. And he put that kid's life at risk, his brain at risk, to keep his job. And don't tell me all he did. I saw him going to 10. I saw Dart go back in the game. He looked like Erickson Lubin after Virgil Ortiz had knocked him out. He didn't know where he was at. You cannot have a lame duck coach with it. Exactly. The Commanders just ain't. You bring in your coach. You bring in a fresh new staff. This is the quarterback they want. This is what they want to build with. They know they got a couple of years to work on it, and it works most of the time. Anytime you do the lame duck, because it's a rookie quarterback, it's a lot of pressure. The rookie quarterback is under a lot of pressure. You get off to this start, you fire the guy. Now the rookie quarterback has to have a new coordinator, a new head coach, maybe a new GM. Look what happened to Will Levis. This is crazy. It's happened to Tennessee twice. Look at Will Levis. Second round, they brought him in. They threw 4 touchdowns in his first game, but lame duck coach. They didn't want to bring him back. I think it was Vrabel at the time. He didn't extend his contract. You let him go. The new coach hates him. He don't like him. I don't know what it is. He don't like him. Didn't like Malik Willis, whatever it may be. He goes, sends him away. Haven't seen him since. I seen his ex-girlfriend, Gia Duddy, at more games than Will Levis. Stop. I don't know who are the lame duck, whoever, like Kevin Stefanski. Do not draft another quarterback, Cleveland, unless you're going to fire him. Clearly, he does not know what he's doing. People, first off, when you're a lame duck coach, give the people what they want. You know the people want. And what I don't understand about Stefanski is this. If he just gives the people what they want, it's really on Shador to prove him either wrong or right. Now, either way, he wins. Let me tell you how. If you start Shador and he's hot garbage, right, then he can say, look, I was right. I told you Dylan Gabriel's a better fit and everything. You go back to Dylan Gabriel and nobody will say anything. If Shador isn't hot garbage, who cares? Everybody's going to be excited. Nobody cares about him. He's trying to save his team, save his job. I don't understand. It's a win-win situation. You put him in. If he's fired, nobody cares about you anymore. The crowd is hyped. The jerseys are selling. The owner's happy. The team is excited. It's good. Nobody's even going to care that you wanted Dylan Gabriel. If he sucks, then you can sit back and say, well, I tried to tell you. I gave you what you wanted. You see what's going on. Now, would you let me do my job? It's a win-win. I don't know what his problem is. I do not know what his problem is. So John Harbaugh is lucky. Lamar Jackson. That is right. Lamar Jackson saved John Harbaugh's job. Probably still saving it now. The right quarterback can change the trajectory of a coach's career. You just have to look at Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Yeah, to set his last card he can play, and you're running out of time. You look at Tom Brady, you look at Bill Belichick, right? Bill Belichick, great defensive coordinator. He was basically like Steve Spagnuolo. I'm sure, I don't know if I said his name right, with the Chiefs and the other teams that he's been with. Great defensive coordinator. Was not a great head coach to start. He was a great defensive coordinator, not a great head coach to start. He looks up into Tom Brady. It wasn't like he did any type of massive, he didn't know anything. Yeah, Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe almost dies on the field, and he gets Tom Brady. They go on a run, and the rest is history. You know, Steve Walsh. Shoot, I mean, you got Bill Walsh, excuse me. Joe Montana. Steve Walsh. Steve Young. You get these quarterbacks, it can change your trajectory. John Harbaugh would have been fired a long time ago. Let's just be honest. If it wasn't for Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen. Now, I will say with Josh Allen, the Bills took a risk and they coached him up until he became what he became. That's good coaching. You see something, a molded product, and you use it, and there you go. But I don't understand Stefanski. I don't know why. I had a couple of people hit me up in the DMs. Different people, by the way. Don't even know each other. Say he hates Shedeur Sanders. He just hates him. Why he hates Shedeur, I don't know. Maybe it's not Shedeur. Maybe it's just he don't like, he's so popular. I don't know. I don't know what the issue is with Stefanski, to be perfectly, honest with you. So did you see my exclusive about the NBA players getting extorted by the fake IG models? I knew this was happening because I had heard about it in the off season, and it just was crazy to me that there's players that are still getting, catfished even to this day. But it's really a real thing. Let me pull up the screenshot for you guys before I tell you how the scam goes down. We're processing, by the way. Still processing. More processing. There we go. BSO exclusive. NBA players have been extorted out of hundreds of thousands of dollars for trying to holler at fake IG models who then threaten to expose them after receiving compromised material or by using AI to make them look like a pedophile. There was a real sad story about this happening to a high school kid. There was some, mostly the people that are doing this are overseas. And I think these were Jamaicans or something. I don't know exactly who they were, but they were overseas. He was on, I don't know if it was Snapchat. It was something late at night. He's talking to these fake people or this fake girl. They're going back and forth. And, he's 16, 17 years old. He's just a kid. And he sent, the pictures or whatever. And, they said, he had a girlfriend. And they said they were going to leak him and put it on the internet and ruin his life. And the kid was like a 4.0 student, good football player and everything, had a scholarship. And he just panicked. He killed himself. Over it. So it's it's really sickening what these people are doing. And I don't know if you're like on Threads a lot, but if you're on Threads, the fakeness is very apparent with that. And I'm assuming it's deep with Instagram. But according to this report, they have something that they can look at the athletes, algorithm and what they've been liking and everything, and kind of if they're at RG3, if they like the milk, if they like the snow bunnies, they can create a white woman and their liking. If they like BBL women, they can create a BBL bandit, for them. And at first I was thinking the same thing probably you was thinking. What happens when, they FaceTime? Because you would think that's a natural, progression before you send anything compromising anyone. But then that's when I saw that when they FaceTime, they take your face, they take what you're talking about, and they use AI to make it look like you're talking to a minor, and then they threaten you with that. And these guys are paying up, and it's sad because you would think that you would have the type of technology, or you would go to the cops or whatever it may be. But it always reminds me of Chingy. Remember Chingy? The said that they had said he had been with a transgender, and it really just kind of torpedoed his career. But it wasn't true. But there was nothing he could really do about it. Once it kind of got out there, it was kind of out there. And I guess some of these athletes, and some of them are prominent, they're not like just the bench players. These are guys with 50 million, 100 million, $200 million contracts. And I guess it's happening in all sports. They're getting extorted, and they're having to pay $100,000, $200,000, $500,000. And then the weird thing about it is they're paying this money kind of sight unseen. So I mean, if the person still wanted to do it, they're good. But the fact that it's happening overseas is hard to police. We've seen a few where the FBI have arrested a few people for extortion, or a few of the women for extortion, for stuff like that. But it's really, just with it's just like the gambling thing. It's really out there right now. It is really out there. You have to be really, really careful. What you're clicking on, like with your emails, your text messages. They gotten like before. It used to be kind of like, oh, hey, your grandfather left you $10 million. Kicked it. It is super sophisticated now. I mean, I know one is like, did you lose your password, or somebody hacked your account, click this again. Like, it is super sophisticated how they do things these days. Just don't click on anything. I know it was a big one where they were saying that you had toll charges or something, and to get out the toll charges, don't click anything. If you are doing your big pimping on social media, and this doesn't just go for athletes, just go for anybody. Make sure you're thorough. If someone seems fake, they probably are fake. The pictures seem fake, probably are fake. The conversation seems a little off, probably is. If you got a couple of dollars in your pocket, I know that you think that you Don Juan DeMarco. You got to be. It's just like the guys that get robbed of the Rolexes every other week in Miami and Las Vegas. I see it. When I used to go to Vegas, I used to. This is a while ago. I don't do this as much anymore. But back in the day, when I would peruse Vegas in the more later, hours, I remember I had a little game, and the game was spot the escort, and what they were getting ready to do. Because after a while, and I was back then, I was covering like 10, 11 fights a year in Vegas. Just got there all the time. And then you start to spot things, and you could just see what was happening. And I remember you could just spot them, just kind of casing everything out, casing the person out, looking at their watch, looking at their clothes or whatever. And you just would think to yourself, I hope she don't rob them. Like, I hope it's just a regular business transaction and everybody goes about their business. But then the next day you hear about it also. And then a lot of the guys wouldn't report it because either they were married, had girlfriends or whatever it may be. It's kind of hard to report the police, and your wife's right there. And you'd be like, well, what happened? They're like, well, I think an escort up to my room and she robbed me of $5,000. Can't really say that with your wife right there, can you? So a lot of it doesn't get reported. That's how they would play off of it. So if you just sitting at the bar, right? And I'm not saying you're not a handsome guy. You just sit at the bar with your rollie on. You got your drink on. You got your Versace. You got your Gucci bag, right? You got your Versace shirt on. You're looking like Tupac, 96. And you're minding your business. You're sipping your drink. And the girl just comes up to you and starts talking. Look, once again, I'm not saying you're not Don Juan DeMarco. I'm not criticizing your game. Just saying be careful. I would not drink anything in your room. I would not go to the bathroom, leave your drink out. I would not leave your drink out at the bar. If you do go back up to the room, they have a safe there for a reason. Lock it all up. Keep the lights on. Just a piece of advice. Just try to be helpful on this Monday afternoon. Can I rant for a little bit about something that grinds my gears? This really grinds my gears. In the grand scheme of things, the Heisman Trophy doesn't really mean much, okay? And don't get me wrong, it means something. You get to do the commercials. You're always called a Heisman Trophy, winner and everything. But it really doesn't mean much in regards to, if you're going to be a great player, a good player in the NFL or not. It's nice to have. And, it's one of those little status symbols. They can never take it away from you. I mean, OJ still, I think, has his. They did try to take it away from Reggie Bush. But that's totally different, the story. But, in the grand scheme of things, it's really not something that you should be upset about. But it just grinds my gears, okay? And I'm not trying to be old man, yell at a cloud. But, I've been classically trained in media and journalism. And I just hate when the journalists of today, they just don't use common sense. They just get caught up in the wave of the hot take. It's really frustrating to me. Back in my day, when you had a Heisman moment, normally it was in a big game where you played big time and made a big play, right? I think, you think about Desmond Howard, running back the punt against Ohio State and doing that. Or, you think about that type of thing. Or you're just so better than everybody else, your talent can't be denied. You think Barry Sanders, for example, or a two-way player like Travis, Hunter, to where you're doing something so unique, they can't deny you the Heisman Trophy. Or Reggie Bush, for example, of that. But what never, in my experience, was the Heisman Trophy moment was you yourself putting your team in a bad position and then digging yourself out the hole. That is not a Heisman moment. Now, I have no problems with Fernando Mendoza. I think he's a fine Heisman candidate. And it's tough, regardless of what the record says, to go into Happy Valley and win a game. I'm not taking any of that from him. But the fact is, the reason they was in that position because he didn't play well for like 58 minutes of the game. In fact, it was his terrible interception that put them in the position that they were in. I remember someone once told me that about Eli Manning. They was like, hey, look, I know Eli is clutch. But they said Eli Manning has such and such fourth quarter comebacks. But so many of those because Eli was terrible for the first 3 quarters. He had no choice but to come back. And I want a quarterback that has a lot of wins and low fourth quarter comebacks. Because that means you putting them away by the third. A Heisman moment is not put, even against Oregon, a game that they pretty much dominated. If it wasn't for his pick 6, it wouldn't have been as close as it was. It was the defense that won that game. Granted, hell of a drive. Got sacked, threw some dimes, got a lot of help from his receivers. That's what star players do. They shake it off and get the job done. I respect that. That's why I said it kept him in the Heisman race. But it didn't win him the Heisman. You don't get the Heisman for being bad and then not being bad. The Heisman is about sustained excellence. Now, It's not a big deal, okay? Because eventually he's probably gonna. Well, I should say this. Eventually, Julian saying, my God, the babyface assassin, he's gonna have to go to Michigan in late November. They're on a 4-game losing streak with a chance to go to the Big Ten championship, right? That's his Heisman moment. If he wins that game, he's probably going to see Indiana in the Big Ten championship, and that'll probably determine who's the Heisman winner. So everything's in front. So it's not a huge deal. So, but it's more about the journalist. It's like, why the facts are right there. Why are you hot taking? Why don't you just tell the truth? He didn't look good for the majority of the game. That Jim Knowles defense, it's not really great in the fourth quarter. It just grinds my gears. Before I get out of here, we talked about this before. But if my brothers out there listening, okay, this is very, 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 very important. And I'm telling you this because, you need to know, and I don't want you to make certain mistakes in life, and you can't go back, especially when it comes to children, okay? I was listening to NBA Young Boys, baby mama, Janae, I think Michelle, right? I was listening to her speak about her breakup with Pelicans, DeJounte Murray. And she was talking about how he wanted her to stay at home and how he wanted to start a family, and they had kids, and he wanted her to, act like a wife and things of that nature. And she wanted to go twerk with her friends. And he should have understood that she wants to go out and twerk at times. And her friends, who are single, I might add, were telling her that she should leave him because he's controlling, and et cetera, et cetera. My first piece of advice: if you meet a woman at the club, you meet a woman at the library, you meet a woman at Target, you meet a woman at the airport, and she says, yes, I have a child. Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's 2025. Not unusual for someone to have a child. And then the next sentence is, NBA young boy is the baby daddy. That should be the end of the conversation, okay? That should be it. And you should be done. Should move on. Doesn't matter if you're an NBA player or you the airport security, TSA. You're moving on. I'm moving on. Okay, it's like saying Nick Cannon. You're moving on. Oh, Stephon Diggs, you're moving on. You understand what I'm saying? There's certain names, and when you hear baby daddy, you're moving on. Okay? Future, moving on. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? And every hood has a little bit of that too. You're in your hood, and you meet somebody, you meet Shirley. Shirley got a couple of kids. Who your kids by, Shirley? Oh, James and Ricky. All right, I'm out. I'm good. Or you see Shirley at the club. Shirley looking good at the club and got a twerk. She's twerking to Young Thug. Shirley, hey, Shirley, what's going on, Shirley? Shirley, what you doing on Monday? I gotta take my 4 kids to the school first, and I'm out. I'm out. Somebody told me a piece of advice once. They said people change variations of themselves, but you never change who you are. Like, change is good. You grow up, you learn, you have experiences that changes the way you are fundamentally as a person. The way that you handle things at 20 may be different. The way you handle things at 30, you handle things at 40, you handle things at 50. But who you are at your core, from when you come out the womb, that's who you are. Now you can mold it, make it a better version, make it the best version. But that's who you are. I can't change that I speak in sports analogies. I can't change. This is what I like. I see things in the lens of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. That's how I was when I was 6. It's how I'm going to be when I'm 66. There's certain things you can't change about a person. I never was a big club guy. I had a club era. I was never a club guy. Never was a stay outside late guy. Right? But I'm also a reader. I like to read. Got books all over the place. No matter where I'm at, you're going to see. Look, always, it's always books. Murder notes. What the wife knew. This is actually not bad. This one right here. You should read what the wife knew. A Darby came. Not bad. I haven't got to this one. You shouldn't have come here. If I go, and you see how this is a Target? Anytime, you know how people go to Target? They say when they go to Target, man, I just be picking up. I pick up books. Just who I am. So I'll always be. So if your lady likes to twerk in the club, then she will continue to twerk in the club until she doesn't want to twerk in the club anymore. You're not obligated to wait. You're not. You don't have to wait. And I feel a little bit for DeJounte Murray. First he had Deshaun Watson's wife. Now he has NBA Youngboy's baby mama, and they have a kid together. You know, it's kind of like PJ Washington and all that stuff. You know, it's one thing to make a mistake, it's another whole thing to make a mistake with a child. So if you're youngin' right here, because I know a lot of us are already OG, triple OGs. We already know this. But if you're a young person watching this, hopefully this helps you out. If you meet a girl and you thinking to yourself, because I know how young guys think, I can change her. I can turn her. I can save her. No, don't do it. Don't do it. E40 told me that when I was a kid. There's literally was a song out there. You go E40, go watch E40. Can I save her? She don't want to be saved. So simple, but so profound. Yeah, is a can I save you? I don't want to be saved. So profound. Rap music at times. So profound. So yeah, she don't want to be saved. And I don't say, well, there's always somebody for someone. You just never know. You just run into them at some point. It'll just happen naturally. Just let it happen. And you would know. I think that's maybe the most important thing that all the fellas, and the ladies too, should know. When it happens, you will know. And there's no way to articulate it. You just know. And I think a lot of times you know the opposite way, but you just don't want to be lonely. You know this one is not the one. You know this is not happy with this one. This one drives you crazy. But you don't want to be by yourself. And I get that. It's a rough world out there. Nobody wants to be by themselves. But let me just tell you, for your peace of mind, just wait. Wait till you find the right one. When you find the right one, you'll know. Trust me, it'll hit you. Hit you like a ton of bricks. And you will sit back and like, oh, man. All of this other stuff I was doing, this wasn't it. This is it. And that's what I want for all of you. All of you, I want you to just find that one. And if you have the one already, don't screw it up. It ain't worth it. Don't go out here doing weird stuff. Just stick with it. You stick with it. I got Chris Anderson says, man, Trump's wild. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Trump figured it out. The only stat that you need to know about Trump is that the majority of his voter base never went to college. They're not educated. And what's the thing you can do with that? You can manipulate them. Why do you think athletes like Trump? They're not smart. They may be football smart. They may be basketball smart. They may be, whatever, hockey smart. They're not really, you know, it didn't like they went to Alabama to go get a degree in astrophysics or anything. That's why they love Trump. He figured it out. He's like, if I can get these dumb people to follow me, I can take over the country. You know when they show that map and all the red is in the middle and, you know, the blue is kind of concentrated in the cities and stuff like that? I stay in Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis and Kansas City has a cluster of that blue, right? And then everything else around the state is red. But what they don't tell you is it's not red because there's a lot of people there. It's red only because it's a few people there out in the boondocks. Okay, they're just out in the middle of nowhere. It's just the land is red. The people aren't there. The people that are there, they don't know any better. They're not educated. They're not smart. If anything, they're angry. And what they do is they look up to rich white people. They love them. So Trump is like their superhero. Like their Superman with his gold chandeliers and all of that stuff. Poor white people love to look down on other people for some reason. Yeah, I'm a poor white person, but I look down at this immigrant for some reason. Not sure why, but it works. And then what happens, it happened the first time Trump was president, happened the second time because they're idiots. So same thing happened. Trump gets in, all the stuff he said he was going to do, he doesn't do. All of the things that he do protect the rich and hurt the poor. So then all of a sudden, all these dumb poor people are like, wait a minute, I thought X, Y, and Z was going to happen. That's not happening. The poor people say, oh, I thought ICE was going to pick up all of the dangerous people. Why are they taking kids and the person that cuts my grass and stuff like that? What the hell is going on? So that's how are you stupid? Stupid people repeat things over and over again. That's what happens. They repeat things over and over again. You say, well, why? It doesn't seem like Trump people like, they don't. The central people that are outside don't like Trump. Those are more functional adults. The people that are voting Trump in, it's like a silent majority. People that live out in the woods, or your neighbor that don't want to let you know that they like Trump. You know, the one that'll give you a beer but have a Trump flag, you know, hanging in their garage. That's what Trump was. And like I said, white people stick together. White people stick together. Like I understand there's certain times you can't just let black people off the hook just for like doing real dumb stuff. Like I don't like the fact that we kill each other literally all the time, right? But with certain things, you got to have some back. Like I'm sure there was a policy or two that I didn't agree with Barack Obama about. But my God, for us to have a black president just while we were living, he would never hear me say anything bad about Barack Obama. Why? So some white guy can piggyback behind me and say, see, Black Sports Online said he don't like President Obama. No, not helping them. Come on now. We don't stick together. That's our problem. It really is. I appreciate you guys keeping coming back, giving the comments up, helping the algorithm and everything. I'm here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you got something that you want to talk about, you can hit me up on Twitter. I will get to it. I'm out.